Cheryl, our librarian, is getting us the watercolor painting. It's going to be hanging down on the right in what we call the quiet room. This beautiful wall that we'll be seeing. This is an original watercolor painting by Slug Gosher of Main Street in Spencer. And if you will show everybody, there we go. Starts at the Congregational Church, includes the primary buildings. It doesn't have every building on Main Street, but you'll notice what's there. The Congregational Church, the high school, the town hall, the Sugden Block, and a couple of other buildings. And this is an original watercolor painting. This is not a print. And the Board of Selectmen are personally donating this to the library in Mary's honor. There is a plaque that says in honor of Mary E. Madden, education leader. And that will hang here, I hope, for generations to see, so they can see what Spencer was like and ask, who the heck was Mary Madden?
When I went to school in the first grade, and Miss Woodbury was our teacher. The Woodbury sisters were great first grade teachers. Mary Woodbury was my teacher. And then there was a change in the second grade, and Laura Woodbury was a substitute teacher. And then there was a Miss Wilder for the third, and Mary Walsh was a fourth grade teacher for many years at Pleasant Street. Marion Rogan was many years at Grove Street School, and Miss Casey was for many, many years the principal of West Main. In fact, there was more than one Miss Casey, so they called her Miss Annie, was the first grade teacher. And the others, then there was Teresa, and there were other teachers there too. Lovely old school. Girls and boys enjoyed recess. They enjoyed waiting for the bus. They enjoyed waiting for the bus at morning and night. And so they had a good time at school. The farm people, most of the farm people went to Pleasant Street, and most of the Grove Street people went to Grove, and then of course the south side of Spencer, most of them went to West Main, depending on where you lived, how far you'd have to be transported. So you'd take that up with Mr. Agard. He had his office at the town hall, and also in the high school. He was a teacher in the high school, as well as a superintendent. It was a great system. Let's see now, first grade. We all went to the same first grade, and was a sight method of learning to read. And we had reading. We had an art teacher. She came every Friday and helped us with some kind of art. We had music. We had a music teacher, Miss Demers. She came every Monday afternoon, and we had a spring concert. And that developed because people said, we need more money for books, for equipment, for things for children to handle. So they said, why don't we give up the spring concert? Oh, the spring concert. Everybody goes to the spring concert. We make money on them. So they said, well, then let's have the spring concert, and let's have the have the art teacher, the music teacher, all get together and put on a festival. So they did. The art teacher saves special pieces of work that the children do, and they put it on display. Then the parents can see, the town can see, everyone can see what these special teachers do. I'd like to go back to the days when we went to the library. You know, when you were old enough to go by yourself, because my mother would take us if we, when we were younger and little, and there was no special place to get a child's book. You had to figure it out for yourself. Mrs. Hodgson was the librarian, and she had a club. I think she called it the 5. I think you had to read 5 books and then report on them. And she'd ask you questions about the books, and she knew all the stories in the books, and she knew all the people in the books. And if you didn't know them, that showed that you didn't read it. We had fun at the library. They had there a glass floor, and that glass floor ran from what's now the children's library across to a stairway that went up the stairs to a second floor. And oh, you know, the older kids would say, would you dare to go on the glass floor? Maybe you'd break it. Maybe you'd break it. And then what would you do? You'd have to tell Mrs. Hodgson the children should not be allowed upstairs, because that's a place where, just where older people can go and get information about the library when they want it for other reasons. So we had to wait until we were about 12 or 13, and then you could ask Mrs. Hodgson if you could go up, if you could walk on the glass floor. If she agreed that you had behaved yourself in the library and that you wouldn't break the floor, no, she said that floor is very strong and it is very special, and it is there for a reason. And the reason is that they wanted to save it and have it if they needed it. Because Annie Casey had passed away, and they had chosen me as teacher principal at West Main. So I packed my bags and down I went to West Main, which was an older school than Pleasant Street, much older. How old, I don't know. I don't know the date that Pleasant Street School was initiated. But it was a lovely old school. They had shutters on the windows. So when we came to November, oh, what a joy to be able to teach them the the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. And the children loved it. And each day we would, before noon, we would take a few lines of that poem and work on it. I'd put it on the board, write it on the board, so they could see it and say it, and they say it. and we say the whole thing. Then we go back to the beginning and say the first line, and I'd erase it. And then they'd say what I had erased. And then I'd go through the whole thing, erase it. Go through the whole thing, erase it. And it came to and away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. Oh, and when they saw the shutters, and that they were talking about them and how houses had shutters in them. So every day we worked on that till Christmas. Oh, we had a great time there. We had a baseball team, but we couldn't beat Pleasant Street. Pleasant Street had a great baseball team. They practiced all the time, and they had the best pitchers, and they had the best hitters, and they had the best ball players. We did nothing, but we played anyway, and we lost. And so that was the end of pretty much the end of the baseball business. So then as I retired, quilting was a great thing. And I had a quilt that my sister had started, and she didn't finish it. And I asked several people if they could help me with it, and they said they didn't know anything about it. But fortunately, I got in touch with Liz Foss. Oh, and she's a wonderful quilter. And so I joined a group of people who met every week. And off to quilting we went. We saved old pieces of fabric, and we learned all the terms of the new pieces. It's a wonderful hobby. It's a great, great thing to do. And when you think of the hours that people spend in making quilts, in quilting, in doing all that handwork, I have a sore finger here from picking up all the fabric. You know, you have to go down with the needle, pick up 4 layers of fabric and pull up the thread. Well, oh, I was hooked. Oh, I loved it. I bought magazines, I bought equipment, I bought anything that had to do with quilts. I wanted it, and I got it. I made braided rugs, room size. Oh, I love to do crafts. I like to save things. I like to make things out of secondhand things. I don't have an old coat. I don't have an old suit. I don't have any old clothes, because I tear them up, flash them out, make them into a rug. And you know what I've done? I made lampshades out of postage stamps. My sister was a nurse, and the nurses and the patients, she had them save the stamps from places that they had been or were going to go. And so she saved stamps. And we went to a stamp and coin store on Chandler Street in Worcester. And they have all kinds of stamps and coins. If you ever get into saving stamps, or if you ever get into wanting to save coins, you go there and they will more than treat you well. I enjoyed that visit very much, and it started me on doing stamps for lamps, and I made one for each of my nieces, and they have them in their homes today. The cardinal is my favorite bird, and in order to keep that bird coming, I started saving cardinals. Cardinals were my hobby. So I set up a table, and before I knew it, I had cardinals everywhere. I had cardinals on my shirts. I had cardinals on my slippers. I had cardinals on my pants. I had cardinals, I don't think I had any in my hair. I had cardinals everywhere. I had big ones, I had little ones, I had mothers and fathers, but it's hard to get a mother. It's hard to find the mothers. And so, my little niece, she's from Cambodia. She was adopted by my nephew, and she loved the cardinals. Oh, she enjoyed them so much. And one of them had a kind of a broken wing, and she tried to fix it, but she didn't have much luck. But anyway, she tried very hard. And so in school, she drew a picture of a cardinal. Oh, it's beautiful. I have it hanging here. You have to get up early and be ready. And the little footprints were ready. The little foot, a footstep for your feet to go up the ladder and into the basket. And up we went, and up we went. And we went over Spencer. Oh, what a thrill it was. And as we went up, we saw all the lovely fields and all the lovely trees and walls and stone walls. Oh, what work people put into stone walls. And then we went over Paxton. Then when we went over Paxton, the man who has charge of the balloon said, "Don't be worried if you see the monks running out into the field." Well, I said, well, what do they do? Oh, every time we use their field, we give them a bottle of wine for the sake of using their field and letting us be part of our show. So anyway, we did. We saw that. We saw the monks come out, and they enjoyed that very much. Oh, we had a great day. It was wonderful, wonderful.